So how's it going out there, folks? Hey, welcome to my nightmare. My next step towards retirement is getting my new Jeep ready to flat tow behind my motorhome. But first, we're going to talk about fishing. I'm going to take a break tonight and we're going to talk about fall power fishing. Okay, so we've weathered the storm. September's gone. We can forget about it. I know a lot of guys have a lot of success in September, but man, that's August and September are not my favorite months for fishing. Great month for football though. So we're getting into October. As you can see, I got my hoodie on and we're about ready to go. The temperatures are coming down. It's not going to be near as hot. And there's a big difference between fall fishing and spring fishing. The number one difference that I've noticed, fall fishing, is the fish are feeding up. They're looking up. All the bait is up in the water column. So you're not having to drag Senkos and Carolina rigs and everything else like you did all summer long. It's finally time to get back to doing some power fishing. Now that's not to say that a Carolina rig's not going to be effective or a Senko, because they might be. But for me, I get excited because I like to throw a crankbait. I like to flip and throw a crankbait. Flipping's out the window right now, but let's take a look at some things. Okay, first off, topwater, walking style bait. Now the size on these depends on your fishery, obviously. We have fairly small shad in our lake. So I'm going to throw something medium sized, just 2 hooks on it. I do have a bunch of 3 hook walking baits, but I'm going to start out with the 2 hook walking bait, a little smaller. The old buzz bait with a toad on it. I don't leave home without it. That bait right there will get you bit. And you can cover a ton of water with these 2 baits. Now, you guys have probably been watching some other videos, and everybody has their own different style, but I'm going to throw one at you that not many people are talking about that can be effective if the conditions are right. A wake bait. As you can see, that bill is pointed almost straight down, and this just goes right below the surface, has a good action to it, and you can cover quite a bit of water with it. So that's a good alternative. Then, personally, what I like to throw a lot is a swim jig. Now, this isn't a traditional swim jig. This is straight out of the package. So I'll be doing some trimming up here and getting it ready. But if you'll notice, this is an Arky style jig head. I like an Arky style this time of year because you can swim it. It's a good swim jig. But I'm pretty erratic with my jigs. I'll let it hit the bottom and I'll bring it back up. I'll do a lot of weird stuff with this jig. I'll drag it along the bottom a little bit, I'll hop it up, I'll bring it through brush. So I like that Arky style head because it's a good all-around bait. The other thing you're not hearing a lot of people talk about, a hair jig. Now a hair jig, when you catch those shad schooling and the bass or the white bass or whatever it is busting on them, this thing is money. If you got a hair jig, don't forget to throw it in your tackle box. And of course, rounding it out, go nowhere without a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait universally is just going to catch aggressive fish. And these fish are pretty aggressive this time of the year. So keep that in mind when you're fishing. As far as crankbaits go, this is where your square bill, depending on what kind of cover you got, a square bill can be extremely effective. And bounce this thing off a wooded cover, lay downs, blow downs, all that. You know, use this thing. And that's what they're made for. And a lipless crankbait. So you might say, why a lipless crankbait? This lipless crankbait, you can fish all over the water column. You can fish it on the bottom and jerk it, rip it back up. It's fairly decent if you got grass down there. And it's just a very versatile bait. Mainly I want it in there because if I want to get down lower with some kind of moving bait that I can just rip off the bottom and bring up real fast, that's what I want. So I'm going to have a lipless tied on. So this time of year, unlike the springtime, this time of year, these fish are hungry. They're feeding. They're not getting ready to spawn. They haven't just spawned and going into post-spawn. They are feeding up for the winter. So they only have one thing on their minds, and that's eat, gorge. So when they're feeding, they're real aggressive. And you've been fishing real slow all summer long, folks, now you got to pick it up. You got to get that bait moving because they want to chase it. There's several different combinations of rods and reels that you got to use because you're throwing such different baits. But I do want you to remember one thing. There's half a table here with treble hooks. Okay, with a treble hook, you want to just sweep set. You don't want a hard hook set with your frog rod. So bring the right type of rod. And if you only have one, you got to remember that these treble hooks, you know, you can pull them out of the fish's mouth, so you can't really jerk on it real hard. Now, when you go to the single hook baits, that's when you need something with a lot of backbone, because you've got to penetrate that hook through the fish's mouth. So you want a rod that's quite a bit stiffer. And when they nail it, you got to bring it home. It's not a sweep set. It's a bear down on it and get with the program. If you have a grass lake or a place that you just can't fish treble hooks, guys, a soft jerk bait can be the ticket. That Super Fluke right there, that can be money. They can be a great bait. You know, stick a 4/0 heavy wire hook on there. Again, use a rod where you can get a good hook set and have some fun with that bait right there. The other bait that works pretty good is natural. You know, this little storm lure here. You know, those are just a good little bait sometimes when you got those schooling fish. So if you got some of these, throw them in your box as well. They work pretty good. And they're nice and heavy. You can fish them at different depths, kind of like that lipless. Folks, one other thing worth mentioning. If you watched last week's video, I talked about modifying baits and taking the rear treble hook off and putting the flasher on there. You don't want to do that. You want to know why? Because this is the time of year that you'll double up. A lot of times they'll fight over that bait and you'll end up getting two. So leave all the hooks on there, okay? Don't take them off. It could be fun when you double up. So hey guys, I know there's a bunch of football on right now. You got baseball, you got, you know, all these different sports coming up in October. But trust me, take a couple of days and go fishing. It could be well worth it. It could be the fishing trip of your lifetime. So I hope this video helps you, and go out and load the boat, guys. We'll see you on the next one. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. Let's get out on the water and have a great day.